Well, first let me thank Susan, my dear, and David Mills for hosting me today and for sharing their knowledge and their insight and their story about coffee, which is something we all use frequently. Mills Coffee is a storied family business. They have provided generations of Rhode Islanders with their coffee for well over a century. And they've seen lots of ups and downs in that century, but they're experiencing something now that is really unprecedented. And that's President Trump causing recklessly major price shocks to the coffee business. He's slapping tariffs on all manner of goods, increasing costs and putting Americans out of business, literally. Now, this self-defeating vendetta is evident in the coffee business. He imposed a 50% surcharge on Brazilian goods because he wants to punish the independent Brazilian judiciary system for pursuing one of his political acolytes, Bolsonaro. So this has nothing to do with international trade, with economic policy. It's just a personal shot at a country because he doesn't like what they've done to one of his amigos.
For lack of a better term.
For lack of a better term. So, who's paying for it? We are. She is, most directly.
Yeah, we're paying for it.
And we get about 1/3 of our coffee from Brazil. So this is not a trivial impact. It's a huge impact. And when the president just bases trade policy on chaotic self-interest and self-aggrandizement and, you can't do that to my buddy, that's absurd. And it hurts Americans. Costs go up and they ripple out. If a coffee maker has to raise prices, guess what happens to the coffee vendor? Prices go up. And that is irresponsible. And they're really hitting small business tremendously. And it's not just Brazil. Trump has placed blanket tariffs on every country, including exporters of coffee like Vietnam and Indonesia. And it makes very little sense. And these prices are hammering American businesses. Susan shared with me that the Trump tariffs are costing her company around $30,000 each month. That's
Going forward.
Going forward. And that's a lot of money. And it's going to have to be passed on some way. There's just no way a company, a small business can absorb that kind of money. Now, households are feeling the pain too. A pound of coffee now costs nearly $10 on average. That's a 41% increase from a year ago. And coffee is something practically everyone uses every day. And that's why I sponsored legislation in the Senate, the No Coffee Tax Act, which would reverse these Trump tariff imposed on coffee prices. And our bipartisan bill would repeal these tariffs and prevent them from implementing new ones. I also voted last month to end President's tariffs on Brazil, just totally, because again, they're nonsensical. They're based not on economic calculations, but on personal agreement. That's not the way to run a country. And despite the president's attestation that foreign companies and foreign countries will pay the tariffs, they're only paying approximately 9% of the tariffs. The other 91% is being shouldered by American businesses, businessmen and women, and consumers. So when his administration, he claimed we're bringing $30 billion a month in tariffs, it really means that American households are paying $27 billion a month to the Treasury. It's a tax. on Americans. And we're struggling under many other burdens imposed by the Trump regime. We're seeing the price of health insurance increase dramatically. You must be seeing it at the company.
Of course.
Yeah. And we just can't do this much longer. Now, Secretary Bessent, the Secretary President, said, well, we're going to adjust some of these tariffs, but, you know, tariff policy in the Trump administration changes about every 10 or 15 minutes. So what he said today, probably he'll forget tomorrow. So we have to keep the heat on. And we're going to do our best to ensure that the Trump administration follows through and actually lowers tariffs on coffee and many other products that are necessary for U.S. households. Literally, President Trump has to wake up and smell the coffee and start listening to the American people. And with that, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing one, along with her brother, Dave.
Who is here?
Dave? Come on, Dave. Yeah, all right. Susan Mills has kept this family business going and thriving. She knows all about this. Susan, the mic is yours.
All right, well, we started in 1860. I know I don't look that old, but that's how far back it goes. And so I have a great-grandfather, grandfather, father, and then my brother and myself, and most of our children have been involved too. And people that work here have worked here for many years because they're all like family. It's like coffee is a supply chain and a village too. It's the growers that we work with. There are a lot of direct trade. We work directly with growers because it takes a year to get a crop of coffee up and around, harvested, and they need to contract with someone that they know can actually buy the coffee. That's the best way for them to do it. And so when you sign up directly, you agree, you make a contract, they can get financing so they can keep everything going well, and then it comes here. With tariffs that can come in at a moment's notice, the coffee that I bought, this coffee was probably bought 8 months ago on a contract, or maybe even a year or before that. So we budgeted in. We know what we know what we're gonna do. Our customers, and we got a lot of great customers here in Rhode Island. They like to be able to know what their price is going to be. We like stability. So the coffee market has had volatility just before we started with the big beautiful bill and all the tariffs. So we were already at a historic high. Now, we were waiting for it to come down because it's like a roller coaster. So you have a business that's riding on a roller coaster some of the time. And as the prices were starting to come down and they started instituting tariffs of 10%, 15%, 20%, and then 50% on the biggest coffee producer, we were all like, I got hit with actually it was a $12,000 tariff because the coffee got loaded, it was like a day later than it should have been, but when it arrived in the port, immediately due, $12,000. That added $12,000 to the cost. That's not in my budget. Right. That's not in my budget. And I think what finally got me to say, I got to reach out for some help somewhere, because taxation without representation is how we became the coffee business. That's how it all started when we dumped the tea into the harbor. Mm-hmm. That started the American Revolution. I said, we need help. And he had said Colombia, he was looking at 100%. 100% I had coffee on the water. 100%. I had already paid significantly more than I have ever paid before. And so it was in the neighborhood of about $185,000 container. That would have meant $185,000 tariff. How do I do this? How do I do this? And you've got so we have direct trade. We also have we have trade houses that we work with too. They're sitting there trying to get new banks to finance the tariffs that they've already paid. And they're really hoping that they get them back. And I don't say lower the tariffs, I say get rid of the tariffs. The tariffs do not belong on an agricultural product. It's decimating our entire village, from grower to trader to the warehouses. The coffee in the warehouses, there are no coffee in the warehouses because people are afraid to buy it. We're afraid to buy it because it's like Russian roulette. Well, it's an awful price, but we might be able to get that by, but it could be double. It could, with Brazil, it'll be, it's going to be half what the actual cost is. It's going to be in tariff. And Brazil is the largest producer of coffee. And America is the biggest buyer. So what are we doing to an American? I'm an American manufacturer. If we're supposed to be reinvigorating American manufacturing, it's not helping me, that's for sure. And it's not helping anyone that's in my chain. So I'm really happy about this. And just to make it aware, because there's a couple of steps that go from drinking your cup. When you get to drink it in your cup, there's been an awful lot going on before that. And we need to be able to get that out to people because it's wrong. I'm sure it's wrong on a lot of products. But when he did Brazil, the 50%, he kept it. And then he exempted orange juice. Oranges, which are grown in the United States. Why should they get an exemption and coffee didn't? It's a grown product. So that's my piece, I guess. Hopefully that
well,
helps.
Susan, your piece is not only relevant, but it is factually based because you're the one that's bearing the cost, and you're speaking for thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of business men and women across this country.
And we hate to raise our prices unnecessarily because hospitality, a lot of people in hospitality, they're struggling with many issues as well. Households, you can't keep raising the price of their cup of coffee. A lot of people look forward to that cup of coffee. It's a source of comfort. And I'm not saying so we should be singled out. It shouldn't happen the tariffs are just wrong in my estimation.
Your estimation is correct. Any questions for Susan or myself?
How fast can we get this bill through to really bring the relief?
Well, I don't think we're getting a lot of cooperation from our Republican colleagues, so it's going to be difficult to get to the floor. And as you know, the Supreme Court has heard arguments about the legality of these tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
They could render a decision in the next weeks or hopefully quickly.
Right.
And if they legalize the tariffs, then we're going to have to press harder, but we'll have much more, I think, not only initiative, but backing from Republicans, because I think some are just holding back and waiting for the court.
Right.
Dave, thank you. Well done. Well done. Your sister was great.
I went easy.
Yeah, I think, no. Yes, I know, there are certain words that can't be used, but anyone else? If not, thank you very,
Thank you very
very
much.
much. Thank you.